Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Mildred, who's just getting away, and Finster. There she is. There's good old Finster. She's munching away on a little snacky thing up in her crow's nest, or whatever you want to call it. It works really well to get her. She's entirely food motivated, that cat. Mildred, not so much, actually. Well, anyway, I have a disc. I've got a disc for you. A really cool disc that, it's one of these collector's items. It exists in the interstitial space between, she wants to get out. Whoa, there she goes. All right, the interstitial space between popular and classical music. And it's this. Frank Sinatra conducts Alec Wilder. Now, Alec Wilder, as some of you may know, is one of the masters of popular song, and was most active in about the 30s and 40s, 50s, somewhere in there. And Frank Sinatra was a good friend of his. And in 1945, which is when this was recorded, yes, 1945, December 1945, he also composed what they call classical pieces, but just interesting little short, essentially song type things for woodwinds and strings and as a harpsichord and all kinds of other stuff. And Frank Sinatra conducted it. And you've got some amazing soloists here. You've got Mitch Miller. Remember Sing Along with Mitch, the great oboist? He was a member of the CBS Symphony. He was a studio musician of great renown, but he also premiered, I think, the Richard Strauss Oboe Concerto as well. And he was also my client when I was a banker, believe it or not. He was doing track development in Rhinebeck, New York, and I was his banker, and he was a character. Oh, my goodness. So you have Mitch Miller, his air for oboe, and the air for bassoon with Harold Goltzer, and the air for flute with Julius Baker. I mean, these were major woodwind soloists. The air for English horn, again with Mitch Miller. Then a piece called Slow Dance and Theme and Variations. Now, none of these pieces is longer than 5 minutes. They're all like 4.5 minutes, 3 and a bit. They're quirky and interesting and lyrical by turns. Really nifty stuff. And there's old Blue Eyes conducting. Yeah, when he was young, Frank Sinatra, the conductor of Alec Wilder's classical pieces. I mean, that's pretty extraordinary, isn't it? And then for the rest of the disc, you have the Alec Wilder Octet. Now, the octet consisted of, let's see, well, it included all kinds of different people, but Mitch Miller was there, Jimmy Carroll, Eddie Powell, Harold Goltzer again, Reggie Merritt, Walter Gross, Jerry Gillis, Frank Carroll, and Toots Mondello. And they have a bunch of things by Wilder himself, his instrumentals, which aren't at all well known, but he was really a wonderfully creative musician, an inventive musician. Often jazz influenced, but, he knew his stuff. He was actually from Rochester originally. He was born into a wealthy family and was more or less self-taught, or largely self-taught. And with the octet we get, and these were recorded in the late 1930s, Such a Tender Night, She'll Be 7 in May, It's Silk, Feel It, Seldom the Sun, Her Old Man Was Suspicious, His First Long Pants, and finally, Pieces of 8. It's all lovely and fun and refreshing to listen to. It really is. It's old, it's mono, it's historical. But, it would really be nice if somebody gave Alec Wilder some serious treatment for his instrumentals. That would really, really be fun, because he was a very characterful and original voice in the field of American popular song and other music during this period. And, now that we're trying to reclaim some of our history, does it always work that way? I just wonder, that we all this stuff goes on, it gets ignored. And then, a couple generations later, people dig around and they find things. At least if they're curious about finding things and digging around a little bit. And Alec Wilder is one of the things to find. I mean, after all, if Frank Sinatra thought he was good enough to conduct, who are we to criticize? Anyway, the label here, it's on Columbia Special Products, Sony Music Special Products now. There's something called the Collector's Series. And the title is Frank Sinatra Conducts the Music of Alec Wilder. Quite an amazing little detour from the usual round of, same old classical titles, isn't it? And for those of you who have a long memory, I mean, some of you, I'm sure, remember this, but, probably a lot of you younger folk, you young'uns, didn't even know that this existed. Some of you may not even know who Frank Sinatra was. Well, get onto Google and Wikipedia and look all this stuff up, because it's a wonderful and distinctive corner of the 20th century American musical experience, and you should experience it too. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.